The night air is thick with laughter and music as I navigate the crowded floor of the lavish corporate party. The company's annual bash is always a grand affair, but this year it seems to be reaching new heights. Glittering lights cast a festive glow on the faces around me, and the atmosphere is charged with excitement. I glance over to where my wife, Emily, is chatting animatedly with a group of our colleagues. Her laughter rings out, clear and carefree, and I can't help but smile. She looks stunning in her sleek, black dress, her auburn hair cascading over her shoulders. I weave through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries with familiar faces, and make my way over to Emily. She's surrounded by a group of young executives, all of them clearly captivated by her charm. I catch snippets of their conversation, inside jokes, corporate gossip, light-hearted banter. Emily is the center of attention, as always. "Hey, hun," I say, slipping my arm around her waist. "Having a good time?" She looks up at me with a radiant smile. "Absolutely. You know how much I love these parties." The group around her laughs, and one of the guys, a tall, well-built man named Jason, claps me on the shoulder. "Your wife is the life of the party, man. We're lucky to have her around." I force a smile, feeling a twinge of discomfort. Jason has always been a bit too friendly with Emily for my liking, but I push the thought aside. Tonight is about enjoying ourselves. "I'm glad to hear that," I reply. "I'm just going to step away for a moment. I'll be right back." As I head toward the restroom, I can't shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at the back of my mind. Something about the way Emily was laughing with those guys didn't sit right with me. But I brush it off, telling myself I'm just being paranoid. The restroom is down a quiet hallway, away from the main party. I push open the door and step inside, the cool air a welcome relief from the crowded ballroom. As I wash my hands, I hear muffled voices coming from the adjacent room, a private lounge area often used by executives for private conversations during these events. My curiosity piqued, I step closer to the door and listen. "Did you see the way she was looking at me?" one voice says, low and conspiratorial. "Yeah, she's definitely interested," another replies. "We should make our move before her husband gets back." My heart pounds in my chest as I realize they're talking about Emily. I press my ear to the door, straining to hear more. "Let's just keep her entertained," a third voice says, laughter in his tone. "She seems to be having fun." I push the door open a crack, peeking inside. What I see makes my blood run cold. Emily is in there, surrounded by the same group of guys from earlier, but their demeanor has shifted. They're too close, their hands too familiar on her body. And she's not resisting, in fact, she's laughing, clearly enjoying their attention. Rage and betrayal surge through me. I want to burst in and confront them, but I know that would only cause a scene. I need to think this through. I step back, taking deep breaths to calm myself. If they think they can humiliate me like this, they've got another thing coming. I slip out of the restroom and back into the main party, my mind racing. I need a plan, something to expose them for the sleazy perverts they are. I scan the room, my eyes landing on a familiar face, Mark, one of my closest friends and a tech genius. He's chatting with a few other colleagues near the bar. I stride over to him, my heart pounding. "Mark, I need your help." He looks at me, concern flickering in his eyes. "What's wrong?" I lean in close, lowering my voice. "Emily, she's in the lounge with some guys. They're acting inappropriately, and I need to catch them in the act." Mark's expression hardens. "What do you need me to do? Can you hack into the security system? Get access to the cameras in the lounge?" Mark hesitates, glancing around. "That's risky, man. If we get caught..." "Please, Mark. I need to do this. They're humiliating me. I need proof." He studies my face for a moment, then nods. "All right. Give me a few minutes." While Mark works his magic, I position myself near the entrance to the lounge, staying out of sight but close enough to hear. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a message from Mark, "Got the feed. Sending it to your phone now. I pull out my phone and watch the live footage, my stomach turning as I see Emily laughing, flirting, and allowing those men to touch her. My heart aches, but I push the pain aside, focusing on my plan. I wait for the right moment, and when I see one of the men, Jason, lean in to kiss her, I make my move. I burst into the lounge, my phone held high, the camera capturing everything. What the hell is going on here? I shout. Emily jumps back, her face pale. The men freeze, guilt and shock written all over their faces. David, Emily starts, but I cut her off. Save it, I snap. I saw everything. I turn to the men, my voice cold and furious. You think you can mess with me? Humiliate me like this? Jason steps forward, hands raised. Hey, man, it's not what it looks like. I laugh, a harsh, bitter sound. Oh, it's exactly what it looks like. And I've got it all on camera. I pull out my phone, showing them the live feed. Their faces blanch as they realize the extent of their mistake. You're done, I say, my voice low and dangerous. All of you. I turn and storm out of the lounge, my mind whirling with anger and betrayal. I head straight to the event coordinator, a no-nonsense woman named Linda. I need you to call the police, I tell her, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. There's been an incident in the lounge. Linda's eyes widen, but she nods, pulling out her phone. I take a deep breath, knowing the night is far from over. As I wait for the authorities to arrive, I can't help but feel a twisted sense of satisfaction. They thought they could get away with this, but I've turned the tables on them. The police arrive quickly, and I explain the situation, showing them the footage on my phone. Emily and the men are taken aside for questioning, their faces a mix of fear and shame. I watch as they're led away, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. This isn't how I wanted the night to go, but at least I've exposed them for what they are. As the party continues around me, oblivious to the drama that's just unfolded, I can't help but wonder what comes next. The night has changed everything, and I know there's no going back. I walk away from the chaos, the sounds of laughter and music fading behind me. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear, I won't let anyone make a fool of me again. This is just the beginning. The ride home is tense and silent. Emily sits beside me, her face pale and eyes fixed on the passing scenery. My mind is a whirl of thoughts, anger, and betrayal. How could she do this to me? To us? My hands grip the steering wheel so tightly, my knuckles turn white. As soon as we step into our apartment, Emily starts to speak, her voice trembling. David, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I hold up a hand, cutting her off. Save it, Emily. I don't want to hear your excuses right now. I need some time to think. She looks at me, tears welling up in her eyes, but I turn away and head to the bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I collapse onto the bed, my mind replaying the events of the night over and over. Sleep eludes me, and I spend the rest of the night staring at the ceiling, grappling with the pain and anger. The next morning, I wake up to the smell of coffee. I drag myself out of bed and into the kitchen, where Emily is making breakfast. She looks up as I enter, her eyes red and swollen from crying. David, please. Can we talk? She pleads. I sit down at the table, my expression hard. Fine. Talk. She takes a deep breath, tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm so sorry for what happened. I never meant to hurt you. It was a stupid mistake. I was just having fun, and I didn't think about the consequences. Fun? I say, my voice rising. You call flirting with a group of guys and letting them touch you fun? Emily flinches, but she nods. I know it was wrong. I've been feeling so neglected lately. You've been so busy with work, and I've been lonely. It was nice to feel desired. Her words cut deep, and I feel a pang of guilt. I have been working long hours, trying to secure a promotion. But that doesn't excuse her behavior. So, this is my fault? You're blaming me for what you did? No, I'm not blaming you, she says quickly. I'm just trying to explain how I was feeling. I know it was wrong, and I'm willing to do anything to make it right. I lean back in my chair, studying her. Anything? She nods, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Yes, anything. Just tell me what I can do. I take a deep breath, my mind racing. We're going to couples therapy. And you're going to cut off all contact with those guys. Understood? Emily nods vigorously. Yes, absolutely. I'll do whatever it takes. Good, I say, standing up. I need some time to cool off. I'm going for a walk. I leave the apartment, the weight of the conversation heavy on my shoulders. As I walk through the city streets, my phone buzzes with a text from Mark. How are you holding up? Barely, I reply. Thanks for your help last night. Anytime, man. Just let me know if you need anything. I pocket my phone and continue walking, trying to clear my head. I know I need to make a decision about our future, but right now, everything feels too raw. When I return home, Emily is sitting on the couch, her eyes filled with worry. Did you have a good walk? I nod, sitting down beside her. Yeah, it helped. She reaches out, taking my hand. I'm so sorry, David. I love you, and I don't want to lose you. I look into her eyes, seeing the sincerity there. I love you too, Emily. But this is going to take time. We need to rebuild the trust that was broken. I know, she says, squeezing my hand. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. The next few days are a blur of awkward silence and tense conversations. Emily and I make an appointment with a couples therapist, and she deletes the contacts of the men involved from her phone. I throw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the turmoil at home. One evening, as I'm working late at the office, my boss, Mr. Thompson, approaches my desk. David, do you have a minute? I look up, surprised. Of course, sir. What's up? What's up? I follow him into his office. Once we're inside, he closes the door and sits down behind his desk. I heard about the incident at the party. How are you holding up? I sigh, running a hand through my hair. It's been rough, sir. But we're working through it. He nods, a sympathetic look in his eyes. I'm sorry to hear that. If you need any time off, just let me know. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. He leans back in his chair, studying me. You know, David, you're one of the most dedicated employees we have. I've been considering you for a promotion, but I want to make sure you're in the right headspace to take on more responsibility. My heart leaps at his words. I can handle it, sir. I promise. He nods, a small smile playing on his lips. Good. I'll keep that in mind. Take care of yourself, David. As I leave his office, I feel a renewed sense of determination. I need to focus on my career and getting my life back on track. The following day, I throw myself into work with renewed vigor, determined to prove myself worthy of the promotion. Later that week, Emily and I have our first therapy session. The therapist, Dr. Mitchell, is a kind woman with a calm demeanor. She listens as we recount the events of the party and our subsequent conversations. It's clear that there's a lot of pain and betrayal here, she says, her voice gentle. But it's also clear that you both want to work through this. That's a good sign. Emily nods, tears in her eyes. I do. I love David, and I want to make things right. Dr. Mitchell turns to me. David, how do you feel about all of this? I take a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. I'm hurt and angry. But I love Emily, and I'm willing to give her another chance. I just need to know that she's committed to changing. Dr. Mitchell nods. That's a good start. Rebuilding trust takes time and effort from both parties. I want you both to be honest with each other and communicate openly about your feelings. The session goes well, and for the first time since the party, I feel a glimmer of hope. Emily and I leave the therapist's office, hand in hand, ready to face the challenges ahead. As we walk to the car, Emily looks up at me, her eyes filled with determination. "We can do this, David." "I know we can." I nod, squeezing her hand. "Yeah, we can. One step at a time." The days turn into weeks, and slowly, things start to improve. Emily and I continue therapy, and our communication becomes stronger. I focus on my work, and my efforts pay off when Mr. Thompson calls me into his office one afternoon. "David, I'm pleased to inform you that you've been promoted to senior manager," he says, extending his hand. I shake it, a smile spreading across my face. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." That evening, Emily and I celebrate my promotion with a quiet dinner at home. It's a small victory, but it feels significant. We're moving forward, one step at a time. But as we settle into bed that night, I can't shake the feeling that something is still lurking beneath the surface. The men from the party are still out there, and the memory of that night continues to haunt me. I know that our journey is far from over, and there are still challenges ahead. As I drift off to sleep, I vow to stay vigilant. I won't let anyone hurt us again. This is just the beginning, and I'm ready to face whatever comes next. The morning sun filters through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the bedroom. I wake up feeling a strange mix of hope and dread. Emily is still asleep beside me, her face peaceful and relaxed. For a moment, I let myself believe that everything is okay, that we've put the past behind us. But the nagging sense of unease quickly returns, reminding me that our journey is far from over. I slip out of bed quietly, careful not to wake her, and head to the kitchen to make some coffee. As I wait for the machine to finish brewing, my phone buzzes with a text message. It's from Mark. "Hey, you free for lunch today? Got something to discuss." I frown, wondering what's on his mind. Mark has been a rock for me through all of this, and I trust his judgment. I quickly type out a reply, "Sure, where and when?" "Noon at the usual place." I put my phone down and pour myself a cup of coffee, the rich aroma filling the kitchen. As I take a sip, I hear Emily stirring in the bedroom. She appears in the doorway a moment later, her hair tousled and her eyes still heavy with sleep. "Morning," she says softly, a tentative smile on her lips. "Morning," I reply, handing her a cup of coffee. "I'm meeting Mark for lunch today. He wants to talk about something." She nods, taking a sip of her coffee. "That's good. Mark's a good friend. Maybe he has some advice." "Maybe," I say, though I can't shake the feeling that it's something more serious. "How about you? Any plans for today?" She shrugs, looking down at her cup. "Just work. And then I thought I might do some reading. Try to relax." "Sounds like a good idea," I say, giving her a small smile. We both need to take it easy. The morning passes uneventfully, and soon it's time to meet Mark. I arrive at the diner a few minutes early, the familiar sights and sounds providing a comforting sense of normalcy. Mark is already there, sitting at our usual booth in the back, a serious expression on his face. "Hey, Mark," I say, sliding into the seat across from him. "What's up?" He leans forward, his voice low. "David, I've been doing some digging into those guys from the party. I think there's more to this than we initially thought." I feel a chill run down my spine. "What do you mean?" Mark pulls out his phone and shows me a series of screenshots. I looked into their backgrounds. Jason, in particular, has a history of inappropriate behavior at corporate events. There are rumors about him and a few other executives being involved in some shady activities. My heart sinks. Why didn't anyone report this? Because they're good at covering their tracks, Mark says, his expression grim. But I found a few former employees who were willing to talk. They described a pattern of manipulation and coercion, especially towards women. I sit back, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. So, what do we do? Mark looks me in the eye, determination etched on his face. We expose them. But we need solid evidence. I've set up meetings with some of these former employees. I think if we can get their stories on record, we can build a case. I nod, my mind racing. When's the first meeting? Tonight, Mark says. I thought you'd want to be there. Absolutely, I reply. Let's bring these bastards down. The rest of the day passes in a blur of anticipation and anxiety. I head home after work, feeling the weight of the upcoming meeting pressing down on me. Emily is waiting for me in the living room, a concerned look on her face. How was lunch with Mark? She asks. I take a deep breath, deciding to be honest with her. He's been looking into those guys from the party. Turns out, they have a history of this kind of behavior. We're meeting with some former employees tonight to get more information. Her eyes widen in shock. Oh my God, David! I had no idea. Neither did I say, sitting down beside her. But we're going to expose them. We need to. She nods, taking my hand. Be careful, okay? This sounds dangerous. I will, I promise, squeezing her hand. We're going to get through this. Together. As evening falls, I meet Mark outside a small coffee shop on the other side of town. He leads me inside, where a woman in her mid-30s is waiting at a corner table. She looks nervous, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. David, this is Sarah, Mark says, introducing us. She used to work with Jason and the others. Nice to meet you, Sarah, I say, shaking her hand. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us. She nods, her eyes darting around the room. I just want to see justice done. Those men, they ruined my career. Tell us everything, Mark says gently, taking a seat beside her. Sarah takes a deep breath, her voice trembling as she begins. I started at the company a few years ago. At first, everything was great. But then Jason and his friends started paying attention to me. At first, it was just harmless flirting, or so I thought. But then it escalated. They would corner me at parties, make inappropriate comments, and touch me without my consent. When I tried to report it, they made sure nothing came of it. Eventually, I had to leave. They destroyed my reputation. I feel a surge of anger as I listen to her story. I'm so sorry, Sarah. We're going to make sure they can't do this to anyone else. She nods, tears in her eyes. I hope so. I've been living in fear for so long. It's time for them to pay. Mark records her statement, and we spend the next few hours discussing the details. By the time we leave the coffee shop, we have a clear plan of action. We're going to gather as many testimonies as we can and present them to the authorities. Over the next few weeks, Mark and I meet with several other former employees, all of whom share similar stories of harassment and intimidation. Each testimony strengthens our case, and soon we have a mountain of evidence. One evening, as I'm reviewing the latest recordings, my phone rings. It's Mark. David, we've got enough. It's time to go to the police. I take a deep breath, feeling a sense of resolve. Let's do it. The next morning, we head to the police station, armed with our evidence. The officer on duty listens intently as we lay out our case, and by the time we're finished, he's convinced. This is serious, he says, looking through the files. We'll open an investigation immediately. As we leave the station, I feel a weight lift off my shoulders. We've done it. We've taken the first step towards justice. But as we walk back to the car, Mark stops suddenly, his expression troubled. David, I just got a call from one of the former employees. She said she's being followed. My heart sinks. Do you think they know what we're doing? It's possible, Mark says, his voice tense. We need to be careful. That night, as I lie in bed, I can't shake the feeling that we're being watched. Emily sleeps peacefully beside me, unaware of the danger that lurks in the shadows. I vow to protect her, no matter what. The battle is far from over, but we're ready for whatever comes next. Together, we'll face the darkness and bring the truth to light. The days blur into weeks as the investigation into Jason and his cronies unfolds. The police work swiftly, and soon, the evidence we've gathered leads to arrests. It's a small victory, but the shadow of those dark days still looms over Emily and me. We continue with therapy, finding solace in each other's company and in the progress we make together. One evening, as I'm reviewing some paperwork in my home office, the phone rings. It's Detective Collins, the officer in charge of the case. "David, we've made some headway," he says. "But there's something you need to know. Can you come down to the station?" My heart skips a beat. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. I hang up and find Emily in the living room, reading. "I need to go to the police station. Detective Collins wants to talk." She looks up, worry creasing her brow. "Be careful, David." "I will," I say, giving her a reassuring smile. "I'll let you know what happens." The drive to the station is tense, the city lights blurring as I try to keep my nerves in check. When I arrive, Detective Collins is waiting for me in a small, dimly lit room. His expression is grave. "Thanks for coming, David," he says, motioning for me to sit. "What's going on, Detective?" I ask, trying to mask my anxiety. He takes a deep breath. "We've uncovered some new information. It seems that Jason and his friends were part of something much bigger. A larger network of corporate corruption and exploitation. But there's more." My pulse quickens. "More? What do you mean?" He leans forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "We have reason to believe that someone close to you might be involved. Someone who has been feeding them information." I stare at him, disbelief washing over me. "What? Who?" He slides a folder across the table. "We've been monitoring communications, and it appears that Emily has been in contact with Jason more frequently than we initially thought." I feel like the ground is falling away beneath me. "Emily? That's impossible. She's been with me every step of the way." Collins nods sympathetically. "I understand this is hard to believe. But we have to consider all possibilities. We're going to bring her in for questioning." My mind races. Could Emily really be involved? Has everything she said and done been a lie? I leave the station in a daze, the weight of this new revelation crushing me. As I drive home, I replay every moment, every conversation, trying to find some clue, some sign that I missed. When I walk through the door, Emily looks up, her face etched with concern. "David, what's wrong?" I take a deep breath, my heart aching. "The police think you might be involved with Jason. They want to question you." Her eyes widen in shock. "What? That's ridiculous. I haven't had any contact with him since the party." "They have evidence, Emily," I say, my voice breaking. "Phone records, emails." I don't know what to believe anymore. Tears well up in her eyes. "David, you have to believe me. I love you. I would never betray you like that." I want to believe her, but doubt gnaws at my soul. We need to go to the station. They're waiting for us. The ride to the station is silent, the tension between us palpable. When we arrive, Detective Collins is waiting. Emily is led into an interrogation room while I wait outside, my mind a storm of emotions. Hours pass, and finally, Collins emerges, his expression unreadable. "We've finished questioning her. You can take her home." I look at him, searching for answers. "And?" "We're still investigating," he says, his tone carefully neutral. "But for now, she's free to go." As we drive home, the silence is heavy with unspoken words. Emily reaches out, placing her hand on mine. "David, please. You have to trust me." I squeeze her hand, my heart torn. "I want to, Emily. I really do." The following weeks are a blur of tension and uncertainty. The investigation continues, and I throw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the turmoil at home. Emily and I continue with therapy, but the shadow of doubt hangs over every session. One night, as I'm working late in my office, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number: "Meet me at the old warehouse on Elm Street. Come alone." My heart pounds as I read the message. It could be a trap, but it could also be the break we need. I grab my coat and head out, leaving a note for Emily. The drive to the warehouse is filled with anxiety and anticipation. When I arrive, the place is dark and deserted, the only light coming from a single bulb hanging above the entrance. I step inside, my footsteps echoing in the vast, empty space. "Hello? Is anyone here?" A figure steps out of the shadows, and I recognize him instantly. It's Jason. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demand, my fists clenching at my sides. He smirks, his eyes cold and calculating. "I wanted to talk, David." Man to man. "Talk? About what?" I say, my voice trembling with anger. "About your wife," he says, his smirk widening. "You see, Emily and I go way back. She's been helping me for years. Feeding me information, helping me cover my tracks." My blood runs cold. "You're lying." "Am I?" he says, pulling out a folder. "Take a look." I grab the folder and flip through the documents inside. Emails, phone records, bank statements, all pointing to Emily's involvement. My hands shake as I read, my heart shattering. "Why are you showing me this?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Because I want you to understand," he says, stepping closer. "Emily is mine. She always has been. She's just been using you." Rage boils inside me, and before I know it, I've lunged at him, my fists connecting with his face. He staggers back, but he's quick to recover, throwing a punch that catches me in the ribs. We grapple, trading blows, until we're both on the ground, panting and bleeding. "You're a fool, David," he sneers. "She was never going to stay with you." In that moment, something snaps inside me. I grab a nearby pipe and swing it at him, knocking him out cold. I stand over him, my breath coming in ragged gasps, and pull out my phone to call the police. "Hello, this is David Collins. I need to report an assault and attempted extortion at the old warehouse on Elm Street. Send backup immediately." As I wait for the police to arrive, I stare down at Jason, my mind racing. If what he said is true, then everything I thought I knew about Emily is a lie. When the police arrive, they take Jason into custody, and I hand over the folder of evidence. I drive home in a daze, my heart heavy with betrayal. When I walk through the door, Emily is waiting, her eyes wide with fear. "David, what happened?" she asks, rushing to my side. I hold up the folder, my expression hard. "Jason gave me this. He claims you've been working with him all along." She takes the folder, her hand shaking as she flips through the documents. "David, this isn't true. He's setting me up." "I want to believe you, Emily," I say, my voice breaking. "But how can I?" Tears stream down her face. "Please, David. You have to trust me. I love you." Before I can respond, my phone buzzes with a call from Detective Collins. "David, we've just arrested Jason. He had more evidence on him, evidence that implicates Emily in a larger conspiracy. We need to bring her in for further questioning." I look at Emily, my heart shattering. "You need to go with them." She nods, her eyes filled with despair. "I understand. But please, believe me. I'm innocent." The police take her away, and I'm left standing in the doorway, my world falling apart. Weeks pass as the investigation unfolds, and slowly, the truth comes to light. Jason had forged the documents to frame Emily, hoping to tear us apart and protect himself. The real mastermind behind the network is revealed to be someone else entirely, a high-ranking executive who had been pulling the strings all along. Emily is exonerated, and Jason and his accomplices are brought to justice. The revelation brings a sense of relief, but the damage has been done. Emily and I are left to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives. As we sit together in our living room, the weight of everything we've been through hangs between us. "I'm so sorry, Emily," I say, my voice choked with emotion. "I should have trusted you." She takes my hand, her eyes filled with love and forgiveness. "It's okay, David. We'll get through this, David." And as we hold each other, I know that no matter what the future holds, we will face it together, stronger than ever.